If only. What's going on, guys? Welcome to my NBA 2K16 review. Now, this might seem odd to some of you, the fact that I'm in front of the camera and it's me personally, not just me being set behind the computer screen. You actually see me. Now, a while ago I did a review of Mortal Kombat X, Mortal Kombat X10, which was really good. It was a really good review, got lots of views, and it was very popular, but the plan at the time was to do a lot of reviews. I just didn't stick with it. The problem with that was the funding. I didn't have the money to buy a bunch of games to review, and it just became very difficult to actually do that, of course, without being able to buy games, because you can't review games without buying the games. So that was very difficult to do. But now I have a lot more funding. I now have a job which I can get money from and pay for games and review the games, and I have a lot of games pre-ordered. I've pre-ordered Black Ops 3, Battlefront 3, or Star Wars Battlefront, Until Dawn is again my own, of course, NBA 2K16, this one now. Hopefully I'll get Fallout 4, hopefully I'll get Just Cause, and No Man's Sky is definitely for doing a review. Depends if I can get it on release or not. But for the time being, the NBA 2K16 review which I'm doing now is basically just a review to get back in the game. I will be playing a lot more with friends and doing a lot more videos based upon that, and that's having fun, and still a few videos of reviews. Now, today's review of NBA 2K16, like I said, is mainly to get back in the game, mainly to get in the groove again, but it's also because this game has actually changed quite a bit, so I kind of thought, why not do a review in it? And first of all, people are going to say, it's exactly the same as last year, it's exactly the same as NBA 2K15, same as NBA 2K14. Yeah, that's true. That is, fundamentally it's exactly the same game. It's a basketball game where big stars are overpowered, dunks are awesome, but the game doesn't play like real life. But either way, it's still really fun. But like I said, mainly it's to get back in the game. Also, I do think this one's changed quite a bit, and I'm a huge fan of it, so I thought, why not do a review? And I'll have fun doing it as well. And the first thing to talk about is the gameplay. It has surprisingly changed. Now, gameplay-wise, of course, it is still the same. You play basketball, hit three-pointers, dunk on people, block shots, be a badass, don't be Dwight Howard, and overall just have really fun playing basketball. And that's always what NBA 2K has been about. But this year, they have changed it up slightly. I personally found, first of all, when playing it, the characters much more sluggish. I don't know if this was just me at the time, you know, but I hadn't been used to controller, but the characters felt very sluggish. They didn't feel as if they were moving as they had in the past, and again, that could have just been me have not playing in a while, you know. It has definitely got better, but they just felt really slow, you know. Even the characters meant to be fast. I was playing as Steve Nash from the 2003-2004 Mavericks, which you can see I'm a big Dallas Mavericks fan, but I just didn't feel that the characters really moved as I wanted to. They were slow, sluggish, felt like they were sort of stepping everywhere and stumbling, you know, not as if they were actually proper sports stars, always on their feet, always moving. I just didn't like the way it felt, but they also changed up the controls. So as soon as I got into game, here I am playing against someone who's never played before, and I go and think, oh yeah, I'll throw an alley-oop. I press the buttons to throw an alley-oop, and it doesn't do it, because they've changed it. I also then go to post-up. They've changed the post-up settings, and most of these changes are just weird and they don't make sense to me, because the game was fine. The game was perfectly fine as it was, and they changed them. It kind of has slightly helped, like the Fantasy Pass now makes more sense, but I'd never heard anything about this, so it was kind of weird, and I can kind of see why they changed them, but at the same time, I've been playing I've played NBA 2K since 2014 of NBA 2K14, and it was weird because I've got used to those controls, and I would change to another one and they might change them again. I just don't get it entirely, and it doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me personally. Now, cinematically, the game is fantastic. When we first played, me and my friends went through the different screen modes and had a different look at the different camera settings of the game. No matter what, it looks fantastic. And aside from the fact right now I'm very pale because it's quite bright outside. It's changed from where I live, but excuse that for a minute. That will be sorted out in another video. but the game looks so fantastic. It almost looks better than real life within some sense. But at the start of the game, when you first start up, anytime you start the game up, there is this horrible, pathetic, weak cinematic that looks like it came from 2007. I remember FIFA Street 2007, and the graphics looked like that, but they were meant to look like that. They were meant to look that bad. The opening cinematic is just awful. Now, in terms of gameplay overall, the game is still the fantastic, enjoyable NBA 2K that we know. And I mentioned that already. It is a little bit glitchy because that's always the case with 2K games on launch. I've heard several stories about people buying gold cards on my team and the cards turn out to be silver. I've had bugs where the game has just completely, a character just stood there and has been rotating back and forth but hasn't actually been able to move or run or anything. And there's been a few little mistakes, but aside from that, nothing major or nothing game-breaking. Now, the second thing I'll talk about is some of the game modes, or some of the changes to game modes that were made. Now, the first one is Play Now. Of course, this is still the typical, you can play with your friends, you can play against your friends, you can be on the same team or against each other, of course. You can play Blacktop, and it's actually really fun to go as the 7'6" Yao Ming versus 5'3" Muggsy Bogues. It's so unfair, but it's so much fun. And in general, they've added so many more historic teams now. They added the 07-08 Boston Celtics, who are really good, the 12-13 Miami Heat, the 6-7 Rockets, the 5-6 Miami Heat, 3-4 Dallas Mavericks, one of the Detroit Pistons teams, as I couldn't think of the name then, one of the Detroit Piston teams. I believe it's the 2001-2, but they've added a bunch of new teams, classic teams, and it kind of just adds to it, because it's really nice to see these old teams and players who are still in the league and how they've kind of changed, in a virtual format. But either way, it's still interesting. Now, my career has changed a lot.
No, we got it.
Right.
Swish.
Man, that was your line.
My bad.
on
Okay.
that.
Cut. You're lying. This year, NBA 2K16, we're taking a new approach to your My Career story. Expand your world to something bigger and better than ever before. There's a lot more of being a great baller than what you see in the court. High school, college, choosing an agent, getting drafted, developing a personal brand, and family. The pressure is starting very real for you and everyone around you. But the rewards can be equally as powerful if you're willing to put in the work. So let me tell you a story. Shazam! Step into my world where you can be the story. See what it's like to be the next NBA phenom, the next frequency vibrations, aka freak. This is living the dream.
So as you saw in that little clip, the game is now mocapped completely and is actually a pre-written story done by Spike Lee, the critically acclaimed director, who I'm personally a fan of. But it just doesn't work in a game setting. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. I don't get why they chose to do this. First of all, it's a reasonably good idea. You know, hey, let's get a really good director who's especially good for doing, you know, movies from the hood and stuff like that. You know, really good, really entertaining and really enjoyable. But they don't allow any personalization. You can create your character, give him a name. I give my character my own personal name, but it doesn't matter what you call him, because they call him Freak anyway, for frequency vibrations, because apparently that counts as a genuine name. I don't know, it doesn't sound like a name to me, but it just doesn't make sense. And one of the best things I found about my team was going up and making your player and have them change. You know, you could go up and, especially back in NBA 2K15, you do this and try out different teams. You can push yourself and try out for a really good team. You may not make it, or you can, you know, definitely play safe and play for a really, you know, not very good team at all and definitely make the team. But they've completely taken that out. You know, even for the draft in NBA 2K14, there is no rookie showcase. You do play high school and college games. That is the one cool thing. You play high school where no matter what you'll dominate, and then you play college where you can still dominate. But overall you probably won't, because college and the high school to college setting, you know, the difficulty change is massive. But overall the story is just weak and it's awkward as well. I don't know what it is, but there's just so many points where you just feel out of place and you feel like it's just weird. And now a perfect example of this thing is the interview you have with the team's owner, which is really odd, because first of all, the story takes itself way too seriously. They needed to realise this is a basketball game. People play this to have fun. Many people play this because they can't play basketball. You know, not me, of course. I'm really good. You know, I can dunk and everything. You know, only 5'8", but go up and dunk it all the time. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, anyway, people play the game because, you know, they're not so good at basketball, or they just really enjoy playing it, or they are good at basketball, but they enjoy playing the game anyway. And to take away that feeling of just enjoyment and add this super serious story, but you've got to give it to your friends, you know, you've got to win it for the team, it just adds too much to the game. You think, I'm sat there going, yeah, I'm watching a comedy series the moment while playing this game. I'm not really paying attention to the story. Can we just move on? You know, I'd be honest, first time I went through, I would have skipped all the cutscenes if I didn't have to record most of them. You know, I would have happily done that. And if I went back through again, I did that. I skipped all the cutscenes because, I'm sorry, I don't care. I'm going to play a basketball game. I don't want to go up and have this huge story that seems to, you know, think it's really damn serious. It's an Oscar-winning story. It's not. It takes itself way too seriously, and it's just not a strong storyline overall. Now, one problem I had as well is a lot of times, especially on my first playthrough, a lot of the games felt like I couldn't win and they felt forged. At one point I felt like, well, the game was 4-14 to us. I go out for 2 minutes, come back in, it's 14-all. I get the game back to, I believe, 22-15 or 22-16, 18, and I think, you know, we probably got this. And they go up and win by 10. And I don't know what I could have done, because the game takes me out, and I'm the only player that's actually scoring, and you wouldn't do that in a real game. Unless the player is too tired to play, you don't do that. That wasn't my first playthrough, though, when the character was 5'8", and not the best scorer. As in, you can still score inside, but being 5'8", it's not very hard for someone just to stick their hand up in the air and you can't score. You know, but the second playthrough, I made a 6'6" shooting guard who was very good, and I didn't lose any game through high school or through college, possibly because I contributed more, but at the same time, the game doesn't really add you the chance. If you get subbed out, you don't have a chance to go contribute to the game. But I suppose it does. I suppose it matters about how well you play. But overall, it just didn't like that. Even a couple of games in the NBA, I'd come in, I'd score 15 points really quickly. You know, I'd be getting us back in the game. Then I get subbed out for the rest of the game, and my team loses by 30. That happened a lot. Now another problem is it takes a while to get to the NBA. I'm not saying that's not fun there, but you play 3 games in high school, and then you play 4 games in college. There's only 7 games, of course, but then you have cutscenes in between every one, and if you sit through all of those cutscenes, it takes a while. And the other problem as well, you don't actually earn VC. Personally, for me, I prefer my team. I really enjoyed playing my team, and I had such good luck last year. But the problem is that I just find I'll go up and I'll think, yeah, I'll join the NBA, and it takes so long to get there, and you don't earn any VC in high school or college because, of course, you're a player and you're not getting paid. In high school, you're not being paid to play in high school. You're on a scholarship in college, so you're not getting paid there either. Even when you enter the NBA, you get paid barely anything. It's just weird, and again, it takes too long to get to the NBA, including all of these cutscenes. I just wish they'd cut down the time just a little bit. And now, if you had to have this storyline in the game, I can understand that if they want to change it up a little bit. I would still like to have some choices though. Maybe if they had more voice customization, maybe if you could choose the family, maybe if you could decide choices like a little bit of a spoiler, you have a friend, Vic Van Leer, or Victor Van Leer, who has a bit of trouble and the team doesn't want him around. They try to get rid of him, but Freak stays loyal and says no, he's not going anywhere. Personally, I would have dropped the guy. I would have just said, gone. You know, you're not going to help me anyway. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off. But you don't get to make that choice. And I wish they just included little bits, you know, like even conversations. The team owner is acting crazy and says something to you, say something back. But they don't give you those options. Just a little bit of customization wouldn't go a long way. Now, overall with my career in the story mode, I just feel that the story could have been left out. I think NBA 2K15 was personally much better. I just enjoyed the story more. You really were a player who was undrafted and started off really low and got to the top and became one of the franchise players. I just thought that was so much better. The second year, to be honest, is more diverse. The second year allows you to go up and you can just decide how to spend your days off. You get to decide what team you want to go to for free agency. And overall, the second year is just so much more diverse. There's so much more to do. And the story only pops up every now and then, which is much better. Overall, though, I wish there was less story and more customization. I just feel that should be the core of my team, is customization, or my career. The customization is called My Career, not Freak's Career starring you. You know, it doesn't make sense to me to have a whole storyline pre-written when in the past you've had it all up to the player. It doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me, and I'm personally not a fan of it. Now, the second game mode, My Park, is pretty much identical to NBA 2K15. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. It doesn't really I don't really enjoy playing it. Like, I'm not personally the best online player. In general, it's not that fact that I can't play the game, it's the fact that everyone else online is actually really good. That's not an excuse, by the way. Occasionally you'll find bad players, it's just those bad players usually don't play online. Me being an example of that. And overall, the game is pretty much, that mode is pretty much identical to what it was in NBA 2K15, I almost forgot the date then. But 2K Pro AM, or 2K Pro AM, or Pro AM, whichever one it is like a more advanced version of that. And overall, it hasn't really changed a huge amount from NBA 2K15, but it's still quite fun to play, if you're into that sort of thing. Now, My GM, of course, makes a return, and it's in-depth as it is, as in-depth as ever. It has still improved slightly, but it's still pretty much the same thing. But it's basically just a more advanced version of My League, which I personally prefer My League. I think My GM just has too much in it, and I'm not really into that. I just want to play simple, have really good lineups and just play. But if you enjoy my GM, of course that's your choice. Hasn't really changed a lot. But overall, if you enjoy that, you enjoy that. Now my team, the next game mode, has had a few changes. My team has always been my favourite mode, and it's a very, very popular mode within the 2K community. And this year, the few changes they've seen is more customization. One thing people don't like about my team, what people didn't like about my team, is that the jerseys you had to wear had to be actual teams' jerseys. The courts had to be actual teams' courts. The players, occasionally you'd have to do these certain challenges. And although those challenges are still around, they're not the same as ever. Also, gold players, you could have gold players with 99 ratings, and you could have gold players with like 80 rating. It didn't really make a huge amount of sense, but they have changed that now. Now you can go up and you can customize the jerseys, you can customize the team name, you can customize the arena, you can customize the ball. The ball I'm not a huge fan of, because it's weird to have all these legends with a team who's designed to put tons of work into, with like a neon ball. I don't know, it just seems weird to me. I kind of like the team customization, but the ball I'm kind of like back and forth, but I don't think I like it. But you can actually get some really interesting designs. I saw a Kanye West for President guy. The first game I played online of my team, the guy was fully kitted out with a proper Kanye logo. His jersey's read Kanye for President. And it was just actually really cool to see. Even the court was covered in Kanye for President, different logos and branding, and it was actually really cool. Of course, you can make your own logos on the 2K website, or you can upload ones. But I thought that was just really cool to see, and it was very interesting. Now, the couple of changes they made as well is they've added new types of card. People might be saying, "Oh, it adds nothing." It adds a little bit. It adds some depth to the game. Now the first thing is moments cards. There's only one at the moment. That's Michael Jordan for his debut in the league, and it's a reasonably good card. You get one if you pre-order the game. I pre-ordered it, but I didn't get the specific pre-order bonus. There's new Rookies of the Year cards, which are kind of good. All of them are gold, I believe, except one. And they're kind of cool to see, again, where players were and where they are now. There's new dynamic ratings, which are the coolest thing that has ever happened to my team, I personally think. How cool is that? You can go up and you have James Harden score like 50 points in a game, get 7 assists, and not play defense because it's James Harden. But he can go up and do all that. His ratings will go up in the game. And those cards sell for so much. You'll find a Marcus Smart, who's 74 overall, silver player, typically goes for 1,300, 1,500. You know, that's reasonable. You can easily afford that, and is a reasonably good player. But his dynamic ratings card is more like 50 to 60,000, depending whether or not you get lucky. If you get unlucky, it'll be in that range. If you get lucky, it'll be a little bit lower. But the dynamic range ones go for so high because the player can be really good and have a super successful season. Of course, if he's not a good player and if he's not going to have a good season, the rating will go down, in which case the price will go down. But of course you can pick him up for cheap then, and if he gets better, the rating goes up. So it's a really clever idea, I think, and I really need to get one, but they are so expensive, especially compared to their standard counterparts. Now, the final thing, I was mentioning about gold players being 99 to 80, they've added new Amethyst cards. Amethyst is basically any player with a 90 overall or upwards. So, James Harden, Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, LeBron James are all Amethyst cards. And you can't use them in anything except for the final seed. And I think that's really good. Also, they still have diamond cards, which you can now sell. It was so frustrating back in NBA 2K15. You'd spend so long getting these diamond cards. You get them, they're not much better than your actual center, power forward, small forward, shooting guard, or point guard, and they're just not going to help your team. So you think, oh, I'll sell it. You can't sell it because it's a diamond card. Now you can sell diamond cards, which is so good. Although at the moment nobody really has many, so we'll have to wait and see how much they cost. Now the final game mode is My League. I've mentioned this briefly, but this is basically the simpler version of My GM. overall, this is just really fun for creating fantasy teams. You know, get all the best players of a certain generation, put them in one team, and then play against other teams. If you want to completely forge the league, it's actually a great way to maybe farm VC. If you're into sort of slight cheating, which it's a great way to do that anyway. Also, it's just really fun to do. You know, make it like a second tier team and see how they do against really good players. Just overall, it's a very fun game mode that is more simple than MyGM, but it's a very similar thing. Now, a couple of my players things they've changed. First of all, the face scan returns, which is great. I don't yet have a camera, PS4 camera, so I can't actually do that yet. And I'm not going to buy one just for the game. I love NBA 2K15, oh, 2K in general, but I don't play it all year, so I'm not going to bother buying one unless there's actually more reason to get it or it's really cheap. But you can add more tattoos. Personally, just for a bit of fun, I had loyalty tattooed across my player's left arm, just for a bit of fun. You can tattoo word letter by letter, so you can go J.R. Smith, 30,000 tattoos, and overall, it's just so much more customization. There are new names added to the game. Personally, though, I'm Welsh, so my name is never going to get in the game. Even my surname, which is Treasure, is never going to be able to get in the game because the name Treasure isn't even registered properly. So I'll never get my name into the game unless somehow I become really famous and 2K think, yeah, we'll add it in for him. One thing though, some of the new tattoo settings and applying stuff is a little bit fiddly. Like at the moment, when you go to apply accessories to your character, it will go up and instead of, changing automatically, if you change to Home NBA, it'll go back to My Park when you try to buy something, which is odd because then you could buy something for your My Park player when you don't want it for the My Park player and waste money by accident. Now overall, it is a very solid game. It continues what NBA 2K15 did very well, and it continues the dynasty of NBA 2K in general. Some of the pros: improved gameplay, it adds customization to tons of different areas. I mentioned my team, I mentioned the My Player, just great. Some of the cons: it's a weak story and it's kind of awkward at times. I mentioned the team owner meeting, and I also mentioned a few of the weird events that happen in it. But overall, it's just not good. It's not a good storyline. And it doesn't really do anything to seriously change up the game. Like, there's not a huge amount they can do, honestly, but it doesn't really do anything that's really going to make you go, oh, I'll buy it. If you don't already own 2K15, get that first and then get 2K16, personally. But overall, I give this game a 7.5, and I give it a Silver Star rating. Silver Star meaning that the game is worth buying if it's there and it's on offer, but if you don't feel like getting it, don't bother. But if you really do, if you enjoy the gameplay, if you really enjoy playing NBA, go ahead and get it. But until then, guys, my name is BoomMonsoon. Hopefully you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you guys next time.